Hello, welcome to the Toffee TV podcast. Cameron isn't here today, either that or he's morphed into a 40-year-old man. Ped's in today.
Why is there someone else here?
Cameron's normally here for the podcast.
No, but you just said he's morphed into a 40-year-old man.
Yes, you're here.
I'm clearly in my mid-30s.
A 39-year-old man.
Plus 3.
So, Ped is in early today.
I mean, you don't need to give away the secrets, of what's going on behind the scenes. Mate, he's got in early and stuff. You can just
well, yes, the boss is here, so I'm on good behaviour.
Don't have to be on good behaviour. This is your show. I'm a guest.
This is my show,
and I'm a guest. So just do anything you want.
If anything, you should be on good behaviour.
I am I'm literally being good behavoured.
Good behaviour. Firstly, let's speak English, please.
I'm dumbing it down for you.
Oh, that's good of you. Yeah. Anyway, we've had some breaking news today. At the time of recording, Aston Villa have announced, you could say a long-time target of Everton, Leon Bailey. Obviously, okay. I imagine if Baz was sat here, well, Baz isn't sat here, and that is because he's at home crying about Leon Bailey.
He's crying into his Leon Bailey pillow.
What was your first thoughts about? Obviously, we heard about Bailey joining Villa a few days ago.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it at first, but
why didn't you believe it?
Because
it's not
that I didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it.
He's not Messi. He's just he's a player that Everton have been linked with for the last couple of years, but they've mainly been linked with him because of Baz.
Baz has made me believe that he's like Messi, though.
He's not. If he was like Messi,
and he will solve all our problems.
If he was like Messi, he wouldn't be signing for Aston Villa, would he?
How do you think he'll do at Aston Villa?
I think he'll probably do all right. I think he's that level of player, and that's, to be honest, that's the kind of player Everton should have been going after for the last 4 or 5 years. Is a Bailey kind of player, and it is annoying that they've got in, but they're selling Jack Grealish. So yeah, this is the thing that Everton fans, or fans of most teams, I'd say, have got to start coming to terms with. If you want nice things, you're probably going to have to sell nice things in the world of FFP. Leicester have already found this out, and look how well they're doing. You get an asset that plays probably in a position where, I know this is not strictly true for Jack Grealish, that plays in a position which is maybe not the sexiest in the world, and you sell him for a big fat wedge and then reinvest the money. And this is football. This is going to be FFP going forward if it stays in its current form. And if we'd sold Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison or Dean, then we could have gone for Bailey, but we didn't. And our business that we do in terms of what we've done the last 4 years, 5 years, our recruitment 6 years, is absolutely awful. Yeah. So we are where we are, and he's gone to Villa, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Well, that's the thing, mate. I think over the past 5 years, we've not invested in many assets where you can buy low at a young age and sell high. Obviously, we bought Iwobi at the age of 22, 23, but he's not worked out as a player you can sell high, maybe. And that is strange because he's 24. He's an international, and I think
where you've sort of strayed off the path there is right. We've bought shite, right? Yeah, let's get it right. We haven't bought. You can sit there and say, well, we bought this player and we bought that player and we should have bought this player at this age. We've bought shite. So therefore, we have a very, very average football team. We have a very, very average squad with a few really good players in it. But before you talk to me about this, about Iwobi and that, Iwobi isn't a good enough player. He wasn't. He was surplus requirements at Arsenal for the very reasons he's surplus requirements at Everton. I know he's not surplus requirements. The point what we did, I look at Villa now, they're looking at someone like Todd Cantwell, right? Whether you like him or not. What he is that kind of player where you go, he's wanted by Norwich, they're in the Premier League, but they know they'll have to sell, and that's where you have to look at it. We bought a player that will be unnamed on this podcast, and the year after, Leicester went and bought Maddison from Norwich for a lot less, and now they've almost outgrown him, but he still might go to Arsenal for a big chunk of wedge, and that's where we've gone completely wrong. Now, Godfrey was a good indication that maybe we've started to change, but the problem is we don't actually have any money to continually do that.
I mean, I was talking to John Blaine yesterday about our most recent mistakes, because he was talking about that this has been going on for 5, maybe 6 years, and it still happened up to recent. And obviously, the most recent mistake was Iwobi, which was 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, obviously, we made Branthwaite, Konku, Toffee signings all in a short period of time. But then we also signed James Rodriguez, which wasn't a brand signing, Alan and Decore, and Alan and Decore both knocking around 30-ish. Obviously, Decore's 28, is he? Alan 30. Do you think they were the right signings at the right time?
Yes, because they're first team players who you know what you're going to get out of, and it's not always about what the selling value of a player. Of course, you buy players and you hope they do well, and if they do well, a big official come along and try and snarl them off you. That's just life. That is life that, I think some people are still not used to. Like, why would this player want to leave us or that player and go here? Well, we do it all the time. We went, Godfrey's a perfect example. We went to Norwich, offered them money, comes to a bigger club. One day someone might do that to us. That's just natural. That's just the circle of life, as was said in The Lion King. But those players are first team players, and the contracts they're on are quite short. Don't forget, whatever happens with James Rodriguez, technically this is his final season anyway at Everton. He's got a year option, but that's here or there. Decore is in a similar boat. I think he's got another year after this year and an extra year, and I think Alan's in a similar boat. We brought Gray in, and he's on a similar kind of contract. I think it's 3 years plus if we want to give him another. They're sensible. We are starting to get our house in order in terms of length of contracts and stuff like that. But the problem is, certainly this summer where the chickens have come home to roost, we are in a position where we just can't buy players because we can't sell players, because no one really wants any of our players.
Well, you mentioned James Rodriguez. I think as the season ended, we were going into June thinking, well, Keane's going to go this month. I'm talking about June, and he's going to be our spending money. That obviously hasn't happened, and it's looking less likely to happen. Obviously, Fabrizio Romano reported yesterday that Rafa Benitez wants him to stay. So do you think it's come down to whether we can get money of James Rodriguez? Obviously, we got him for a reported fee of nothing. He's cost us more wages because of that. But do you think if we can get some money from him, that will allow us to go get a right back? Or do you think without selling anybody, we won't bring anyone else in?
If we don't sell anybody, then I think we'll still do business, but it'll be late, and ultimately it will be not panic buy, but they'll know they'll have to do something because the manager will want more players in. But at the moment, I still think they're banking on players going out. They'll be still banking on Moise Kean to go out. And there was reports overnight that if Lukaku goes to Chelsea, which I could definitely see happening, that Inter Milan might be interested in Moise Kean. Now, that would suit us down to the ground, but I don't know whether they would pay what we needed, would need them to pay.
Yeah.
Because
well, the owners have pulled the money out, haven't they? Obviously, they'll get money for Lukaku.
Yeah,
anyway,
they've put, but I don't imagine they would value Moise Kean at the same as what Paris Saint-Germain value the man. Now, Everton might have to take not a hit, but they'd still get more money than they paid for him. But I imagine Everton would have to just take a little bit more, and then if you do add James Rodriguez onto that, if he does leave, then maybe that makes up the shortfall in the what they were expecting from Moise Kean, and then that would allow us to go forward. So if that happens, it happens. If James Rodriguez leaves, it's not because we need the money. It's because he's a player in the last year of his contract on big wages who the manager doesn't think he's a first team starter. And if that's the case, then it probably does suit everybody, except the fans, who obviously we're emotional in this. It probably suits the club and the player for the player to move on. It's not what people want to hear. It's not what people want as fans. But if you look at it in a cold, hard light, if we didn't like James Rodriguez, we'd be quite happy with that. And that's the difference, I think, in all of these scenarios, is that when you're a fan, you have to put it down to whether you like someone or you don't like him. We don't as a fan base, particularly like Delph, and we want Delph. But if you think we want Delph to leave, but if you think about it, Delph is in a very, very similar position to James Rodriguez. The only difference is, for fans, we see the good in James Rodriguez. We see the goals and the assists, and we look at it and go, that we're going to be losing that. But the manager has already, in his head or his plans, compensated for that, because he sees a system and a way of playing that doesn't fit with James Rodriguez. So it's like, that's the two sides of the coin in football. We don't like Delph, we're dead happy to go, but he's in his last year, and he's injury prone, and he doesn't fit into the plans. James Rodriguez, we like, big star, scores good goals, provides, is a magician. But they're like two sides of the same coin, and it's for fans. We're obviously emotional about things.
Well, you mentioned is the goals that James scores, and I think that's the thing for me. If he leaves, then it's the goal contributions, obviously, behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There's not many. There's James there with his goal contributions. Dean's there with his assists, but he's not scoring. Obviously, he didn't score at all last season. There's other players that, and then you go into Decore, who's got 3 goals last season, and then your centre back. So if you're going to get rid of James, you need to replace the goal contributions. And I suppose
they've already decided though how they're going to replace them, though, haven't they? Surely, because if he does not fit into the plans, then in the manager's head, he doesn't play. And if he doesn't play, then for the manager, he's already decided how he thinks things are going to work to replace those goals. We just don't see that yet, and people are not. And that's the difficult part football managers always have, is in their head. They don't sit down and explain a plan to the fans. You have to watch it unfold on the football pitch, and it can be very difficult, especially when disappointment is so different from others and splits the fan base. People are not willing to give him the chance, so it's going to be. It's going to all unfold, and we'll always. James Rodriguez mightn't be sold. Let's get it right. No one might come in for him, and he will get opportunities if he stays, I imagine. But that's the difficulty in being a football manager. You can't always relate to people what your plans are.
Well, we saw. I think I mentioned before, Fabrizio Romano saying Benitez wants Kean to stay. It could be speculation. It could be rubbish. It could be the club trying to. Put this thing saying,
but it's a bargaining position.
Oh yeah, they're trying to get more money out of him, maybe. But if he were to stay, do you think Kean could have an integral role in the squad?
I don't think he'll have an integral role, because I don't think he's got a position in the team where he starts ahead of other people. He's not a centre forward, but then the manager might look. He is a centre forward, but he's not going to start centre forward because of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But with Richarlison still away, obviously still at the Olympics, they're through to the final on Saturday. For the first month of the season, till we get to that international break, I imagine Richarlison won't be available. So therefore, Kean will be either a backup player or come off the bench. He's got a chance to fight for his place. Dom's only just come back to training this week, so he's got a chance. It's just... And ultimately, the manager might look at it and say, I don't want to sell him, but I understand if I have to, because of the money it's going to bring in for other positions. So therefore, why he's still a player, I'm going to make it known that I like him and I want him to fight for his place, because what we saw last year at PSG is, in and around the box, he can be an asset. I don't think we've ever used him like PSG used him last season, where he's in the box, you get the ball to him like we got the ball to Dom. He's a bit of a tapping merchant, to be honest. That's not a terrible thing. It's just that I think a lot of the time we saw him picking the ball up outside the box and trying to run at people and stuff like that, where really he's just more of a tapping merchant. And if you think about it, if there wasn't a price on him, or we didn't need the money, then I would be like, yes, let's give this kid a go. Let's see what happens. And that's a decision the football club. If he's a good player, they'll want him to stay. But obviously, there's money involved, and the lad probably does want to go to PSG. So it'll work itself out in the next few weeks, I imagine.
He seems professional enough to, if he stays, and he's going to give it his all anyway. He's going to be professional about it. Obviously, he's had a few games in pre-season there. He scored one goal against not Millenarios. Pumas Unam. Decent goal. The finish wasn't great, but the most important thing is he reacted, got to it first, and put it in the back of net. So, but overall, obviously we've had 2 practice games behind closed doors, 2 games at the Florida Cup. What have you made of the pre-season thus far?
Again, like last year, it's difficult to quite put your finger on where we are because because everything's a little bit disjointed again. We're still under sort of, we all know what the world is like. We're still sort of in COVID rules. It's the same for a lot of teams. We're playing Man United on Saturday. Chelsea played Arsenal last week at the Emirates. It's a very strange pre-season. Liverpool are playing 2 60-minute games out in Germany or whatever they did. And it's all a bit strange. So it's hard to know exactly where we are, but we had a couple of practice games to ease our way in. That's good. And then we played tougher games because 2 tougher games in Orlando. The heat, everything that went with it was really tough. I imagine the sessions have been really tough. Double sessions in America. And then this week it was about, you get into the business end of it, where you're getting players back, you're starting to work out your shape for the season. Got a Premier League opposition on Saturday in Manchester United, which will obviously be a very tough game because they've brought players in as well, and they'll want to show them off. And it's about just being ready for that first game. But then it goes past that as well, because I think, and we've always said this, the season really starts the week after the international break in September. That's when it always starts. Now, you could say that last year where we won 7 out of 7 in that first bit before the break. And then after that, when we played Liverpool, things started to settle down. Squad started to settle down. And we found it difficult after that for a few weeks. So that first part is still always up in the air. It's good. That's why it's always, you like to get off to a good start, but it's not always, doesn't always mean that you're going to have a good season. So, I think we're all right. We look fit. We look like we're getting a shape together. I think that's the most important thing. The manager knows what he wants and has known this 4-2-3-1 formation with a little bit of flexibility in the 3. Looks like it's what he wants. He's brought the players in for that, which is really important. If you're going to play a certain way, have players you can play in that way. And yeah, we'll know a little bit more once we get to, as I said, probably September time, and we look at the fitness and we look at the shape and everything else. But I wouldn't worry about the lack of games because I don't think it's a major problem. It's good to play games and test yourself, but they'll be playing games against themselves in at Finch Farm and stuff. So it's looking okay. It's looking okay.
Well, the Florida Cup, I think what was interesting for me was seeing the obviously a couple of the new signings. I think Gray impressed me. Obviously, we got to see the shape of the team, and I liked how we used Gray in a number 10, used him wide, used Townsend on the right, used him on the left. I think Gray, when I saw him in number 10, he just looked so energetic and so direct, and it was lovely to see. And another player who was sort of like a new signing, obviously he's probably played more this pre-season than he's played in his whole Everton career. Obviously, Jean-Philippe Gbamin. What have you made of his pre-season so far? He looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks like he can get round the pitch, first of all, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
In his comeback. He's had a couple of, he's played a couple of cameo roles in the competitive games. I think he scored against Blackburn. And I think it's just been important for him to get through and play games and start building up that fitness. And I really hope by the time we get to the first League Cup game, which is normally the last week in August, something like that. It's normally after the second game. I think it's hopefully that's like the first game he starts, because I don't think he needs to be rushed into the Premier League. I don't think there needs to be this thing of he's fit now. No, just let him get a couple of times off the bench. Let him feel his way into the Premier League. Start getting up to the speed of that, because don't forget, this is a lad who barely kicked the ball in the Premier League, so he's not. It's not like he's this amazing Premier League player. He's still very much untested at the Premier League level. So let's just get him in and give him a chance and let him build in slowly. But I'm just grateful that he's been fit, and he is a new signing because he's played barely any time.
Well, he's exactly what we need for me. A big number 6 can get about the pitch, and break up the play. Allow Allen to maybe get forward and chase the ball a bit more rather than sitting in. Allow Decore to get push up a bit more. Maybe you can start seeing Decore in.
See, I don't see them playing the three of them together.
Do you not think?
No.
I think he'll have to find some way to get them all in together.
That's not how football works. That's not how. That goes against everything we've just been speaking about, though, because he wants to play 4-2-3-1. So I don't see the three of them playing unless we're playing in a game where tactically he plays three holding, because they're three older midfielders, and he doesn't want Decore. Decore might be able to switch into a
number 10, maybe
more of a number 8 in a way, and push through. But I think he wants flexibility in those three players off the striker. He wants movement. He wants to be able to swap places. I think he wants to play. At the moment, it looks like he wants to play 4-2-3-1, and I think Gbamin will have to wait his turn. I just don't see them playing the three, because I just think you're breaking up the style you want to play, and if he's got a way he wants to play, then let's just leave the manager up to sorting that out.
I suppose it may be too soon to say, because obviously you said we've not seen much of him in the Premier League. Got to get up to speed, but yeah. I think to pick between those three at the moment is going to be so hard, because they've all got certain qualities.
I don't think it is hard. I just don't think Gbamin starts games of football till he's proved he's fit enough. I think Allen and Decore are both proven players. Decore's a proven Premier League player. There's still a little bit on Allen, just because I think with the injury last season and the fact that he is a little bit, cumbersome at times and stuff. I still think, though, if the manager allows those two to sit in front of the back four and allows Allen to press like you just said, and the core to be up and down the pitch, I think they're the starting two. And I think you just let Gbamin come in organically when he's ready and when he's had a few games, and when maybe Allen needs a break, and I just don't think there's any need to push Gbamin. I really don't, because that could be the worst thing in the world. He's trying to find his fitness and he's trying to find his feet. So just let him do that without any pressure on him.
Well, Decore and Allen haven't played that many games together, have we? We know they're a good partnership, but how many games did they play last season together? Not many, was it? Because they're obviously had a lot of injuries.
Well, put it this way, they've played more games together than either of them have with Gbamin.
Yeah, that is true. Obviously we're getting some of the lads back now from the Copa America and the Euros, obviously with Charles and the Olympics, but Mina, Dom, Pickford back. So what I want to ask you is, with our the current squad we've got now, let's ignore ins and outs for now.
Yeah, we
get on the first game of the season, Southampton at home. How do you see the manager lining up his first team sheet? Obviously with Charlison.
If it was exactly how it is now,
yeah,
the players we've got: Pickford, Seamus Coleman, Luca Dean, Ben Godfrey, Michael Keane, Alan Decore, 3 in front of him of trying to think who was in Gray, Townsend. I'm trying to think who that other player would be. Iwobi and Dom.
Would it be Iwobi on the wing or Gray?
No, be Iwobi on the left and Townsend on the right.
Interesting.
That's not my team, but I think that's how he would start the first game of the season.
Yeah.
Just allowing Yerry Mina to come in and get a couple of weeks training and make sure that he's all fit and everything. And first couple of games, just go with what you know. It's a long season. Just go with what you know. Go with what is, tried and tested. Michael Keane at centre back, Seamus Coleman at right back. Just go with what works and then evolve out of that. First game of the season is just the first game of the season. It is what it says it is. You've got lots of time to to grow and evolve and for other players to compete. It doesn't always have to be this thing of like, this is my best team and that's it. It's just about finding 11 players who can do a job on the first game of the season, and that's it.
But you mentioned Yerry Mina. Obviously, 2 years left on his contract, has he? Do you think, obviously this is the summer where it's either sign a contract or sell and get the most money you can before he's only got a year left, obviously. Do you think Everton will be listening to offers for him? Obviously, he's a player that may not play as many games a season as a Michael Kean might, or I don't know, maybe even a Holgate or a Godfrey. But do you think they'll be listening to offers as late as they can, or do you think they'll sign that contract?
I think they'll be listening for offers. I don't. Again, I think a manager as pragmatic as Rafa Benitez will be looking at the situation with Marcel Brands, thinking his injury record doesn't stack up against the idea of a new contract and the idea of what we'd be after paying him in that new contract. And again, if you take it, you know what? Before last season, his injury record wasn't actually that bad, but last season I think he just picked up injuries and then was out for six games or whatever every time. And once you start stacking those numbers up, you want to build a defensive unit. You want to have a left back and a right back and two centre backs who are your first choice. Other things come into it, of course. People pick up injuries and suspensions naturally, but you want to be able to put your hand on your heart and say, that's my back line, and that would be the game. That would be the one I start for this, like the most important game of the season or whatever. But if you can't really trust one of those players, then that's where problems start to begin. And I think if there was an offer, then I think we'd look at it. But the problem is, we're in the last month now, and it's whether you get those players in time and can get him out in time. That's the problem with it. And I think we've not heard anything about a new contract, which is really interesting, because normally we just hear like rumblings of one, but we haven't. So, and
Coleman signed his as well, hasn't he? So
that's an easy one, isn't he? He's not going to be sold anywhere. But with Yerry Mina being at an age where and at a contract, you'd think that you're either going to protect the asset or you're going to let the asset go. So it could be an interesting last few weeks. But what I would say is, if we did sell him, I would want another centre-back brought in who would be my number one centre-back. Because I still think Ben Godfrey's a little bit raw. Just a little. I need someone next to him.
He needs a level head next to him.
Well, he just needs someone next to him, like a little with that kind of experience, just to like get him through some games and not talk him through games, but it's always good to have, like you said, an experience around you where Michael Kean should be that player.
Michael Kean wouldn't. If I was a centre back next to Michael Kean, I won't be full of confidence myself anyway. But I don't think Michael Kean would fill me. I think Michael Kean's confidence.
I always talk about it like as you want an alpha in your defence. Anyone who's played football, you want an alpha in your line who's the organiser who talks. Now Michael Kean might be like that, but he might be quite a quieter version of that. You just want someone. Look at obviously two of the best teams. Well, three of the best teams in the country. Liverpool brought in Van Dijk, and it all snapped into place. City brought in Diaz last summer, and it's all snapped into place.
Look what he's done for Stones.
Well, that's the point. It's look what they do for the players next to them. The Man United have got Maguire, who is that player, but he needs someone next to him now. So they're bringing in Varane now, and that's organisation, experience, and pace. And we've got. See, I think if you had someone in centre back who was like that, right? Let's just say Koulibaly, right? Yeah. Because he's like the dream one, or he would have been the dream one 2 years ago. Imagine Koulibaly next to a Ben Godfrey or a Mason Holgate. Mason Holgate instantly has to step his game up and would learn from that player. And I think Ben Godfrey would become a much better player again with that player next to him. But I think people like Mason Holgate or a Jarrad Bramthwaite would go up another level with having that person next to him. There's like when you have centre backs or a lot of positions, you have that almost like that imaginary rope between them. And I think what happens is when you have two players, and this is when I'll tell you, Michael Kean and Mason Holgate last season into Tottenham, when you don't have that imaginary rope, that's what you get. You get situations where centre-backs are falling over each other because they're not vocal enough, or they don't understand each other's game, or for whatever reasons, because you haven't got that clear leader who's defining what the other one should be doing as well as themselves. And I think that when Man City lost Vincent Kompany, he was that person until Diaz come in. And that's what I'm saying, you've just hit the nail on the head. Stones just looks like the best English defender now, and England benefited from the Euros because Stones is a good player, but he always needed that someone next to him. And I think that's what we could really benefit. I think Yeri is that defender, but he can't play every week. Or he does play, but then he just has these stretches of like 5 or 6 games where he doesn't play, and our defence suddenly then goes to pot. And it's about having, that's what I'm saying, it's about bringing that leader, and you could go rely on him all season. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Again, it'll probably go down to the last week to know what's going on.
Well, I still hold a limelight for or hold a light. I don't know why I said limelight.
That's not a limelight.
I still hold a light for a Mason Holgate as a centre back. Just after that season before last, it was Carl's first season, Silva's last. But like you said, he's been playing with Michael Kean most of the season.
Well, I wouldn't. No.
You don't imagine him falling over Kevin Ratcliffe, do you?
No, but that's the point, though. You've got to have leaders who. What you need is, in football team, this is where the best players in the world, who they are, because Michael Keane is worrying about his own game, right? He'll be asking the person next to him to do stuff, but he's worrying about his own game. And while he's worrying about his own game, he's not worrying about the fella next to him. So that's where mistakes start creeping in. When you've got a player in defence who the other one knows he can rely on, it creates a harmony. And I think Mason Holgate playing someone next to someone like Michael Keane, it's a recipe for disaster. And when you've got, even when Ben Godfrey and Mason Holgate, they're young. I know Mason Holgate's a little bit older. They're both young, and they could make mistakes, by accident. Because there's just that little bit. It's experience. You can't buy experience. This is the thing. The really, really best players in the world do things at a very young age that you'd expect senior pros to do. It's just something within them. They read the game. They understand the game. If you haven't got that, you need someone next to him who's just going to go, like, come here, do this. He's your man. Don't forget that. Talking to them and stuff like that. And I think Yerry Mina actually is a defender. I think has got a lot of that because he's not that old.
It's the instinct, isn't it, as a defender? It's the vision.
Well, for Yerry Mina, I call it being like a ball magnet. I think Harry Maguire's a ball magnet. I know he can make mistakes and he can be turned for pace and stuff, and that's why they're bringing Varane in. But he's a ball magnet. He knows where to be. The best defensive players know where to be without. I think it was
they see the danger, don't they?
They see the danger before it happens. Paolo Maldini once said, once you make a slide tackle, you've already lost. Something like that.
You're out the game.
Not even that. It's like once you're not. You should have got it. You shouldn't have got to that stage, and that's what the best defenders do. And I would love us to get a centre back. I don't even know what the centre back is, but I would love us to get a centre back who just had that nous. Because I still think we've got a collection of centre-backs who are desperate for a leader. Like, desperate for someone like Jags in his prime or whoever. When we had Dave Watson, the different kind of era. But
captain.
You got, when we had Lescott and Jags, Lescott was like that, but Jags was like that. That's why they were so good together. That's why Man City actually made a mistake when they bought Lescott is they should have brought Jags as well. But it was they just complemented each other because Jags was a captain, he was a leader in terms of defensive leader. Joleon Lescott had the pace and he could score goals. And
Lescott did have company, went to the City, and
of course. But we've got good defenders. We just haven't got I don't think we've got a brilliant partnership back there, and that will always lead to the odd mistake. And I think that's where, if Yerry Mina never got injured, he'd be my number one. No issues whatsoever. I think he's a great defender. He's a ball magnet. But those defensive, injury issues crept in a little bit more last year.
But you mentioned Koulibaly, and he would be the dream, but I don't think we've got the facilities.
I don't think we have got the facilities for that, but also his age is obviously against them now.
And the money they'd want for him, it's just another player we're looking to replace in 2 years.
He's the kind of player though that would, like, if you were a team going for the title and you needed to, like, go and get somebody to make your team like almost perfect, he'd be that perfect age now. But for us, I just think it wouldn't make any difference. I mean, you're right, we haven't got the money to go and get him anyway.
I think we've got the money to get many of plays at the moment, to be fair. Just to finish off, Man United this Saturday.
Yeah.
12:45 kick-off.
Ooh.
Are you looking forward to it? Old Trafford.
Well, I'm going for a start.
Are you?
So, yeah, I'm glutton for punishment. I bought a ticket yesterday, so I'm going on my own on Saturday. Well done, me. I don't know. Listen, it's a game of footy. See how we line up. See what the manager. It'd be just, to be honest, I'm just going to be dead interested to see our fans being back at a footy match and the reaction to Rafa Benitez in somewhere where I suppose it's not Goodison Park for the first Premier League game. So if there's any kind of frustrations or anything about maybe James Rodriguez or anything like that, you know, to be in the company of Man United fans, it might feel like, do you know what I mean? I hope it isn't. Because I just want it to just be like, well, he's our manager, let's just get on with it. I don't expect like standing ovations for anything, but I think it'd just be the best thing in the world would just be if Everton fans could just go see that team on the pitch. Let's just focus on them. Forget who's in the dugout. If you don't like him, just get on with it. But it's an interesting game because obviously it's another Premier League team, but it is what it is. And whatever happens. It'll be a good run out. I imagine it'll be probably 75 to 80% of what the Premier League game would be. They've got the likes of Sancho. It'll be interesting to see if he's, and it'll just be interesting to see both teams. Actually.
Well, that's the both thing. It's a chance for both teams to have a look at the new players, try and bed them in. They've got a Premier League game that's not got points on it to try and do that, which is I think is perfect.
Bit different though, isn't it? You know, looking forward to seeing Damari Gray when they brought in like Sancho
and
Varane. Yeah. So, but that's just where we are at the moment, isn't it? They're the levels where we are at the moment, and you have to cut your cloth, and we have done. And yeah, if we could go and put a decent performance in, you know, when I say decent performance, I mean a performance that shows that there's a style of play and we're moving forward. Because one thing I would say, like last season, a lot of people said we're looking at the situation with Carlo Ancelotti and saying, well, it's great that we won all these games away from home, it's terrible that we haven't won any home games. Yeah. But at the same time, where's the style of play? What are we? We haven't gone anywhere. We haven't done anything. We haven't created something that's moving forward that you know there's going to be improvement. So if straight away from day one, the Rafa Benitez knows what he wants and doesn't just change the system because we're not playing well or whatever, then that's a good start. That means you've got an identity, and all fans really want is an identity. I know people want an identity off the pitch, which is I understand that massive. It's massive because your football club is your identity, but you need an identity on the pitch. You need to know what your style of play is, and also how the players are growing into it week in and week out. Because that makes it easier for the players. If the players are playing one system 1 week, and then you're like, oh, next week we're playing so and so we're going to revert to playing 3 holding midfielders and blah blah blah. I don't think that you want a system that works both ways, defensively and attacking, and you don't change it for anybody. And unless you haven't got the players for whatever reason, you've got to create a way of playing, and that's. I hope that's what we start seeing on Saturday.
I think with Carlo, it's more of a just player than a style of play, but
yeah,
we'll see on Saturday how it pans out. I think so far we've seen in pre-season it looks good, but
yeah.
Right, yeah, we'll leave it there. If you want more videos, including live exclusive videos, head over to Patreon. If you want to watch this podcast rather than listen to it,
if they weren't watching it just then, they wouldn't have seen your hands go do the movement.
Yeah, that's true. So, You also wouldn't see Ped stroking my leg right
Well.
now. So head over to Patreon
That's a Patreon exclusive.
for exclusive
Stroking.
video podcast. They call it a vodcast, don't they, rather than a podcast?
Do they know?
Isn't that what they call a podcast with a video? Is it
Who's
a
they?
vodcast? I don't know. Some American guy told me that's what it was once. So yeah, there you go. Some interesting facts there. Yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want more.
All listening.
Content. Hit the bell, the notification bell on YouTube, so you get a little pop up when it's.
I thought this
when
was
we
only on
upload. It's
Patreon.
great. Well, no, they can still hear us if it's YouTube. So
I know, but if it's on Patreon,
they won't see me doing this.
they won't do. They won't be clicking the bell for alerts either, because they wouldn't get an alert because this video is only on Patreon.
Yeah, they get notifications on the app though, don't they?
For a podcast that's only on Patreon.
No, because it's on YouTube as well. The audio's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough.
So make sure you hit that bell.
You
for
just hadn't clearly
notifications.
said that. I just don't want the audience confused.
I think my mind's confused, to be honest. Right, so yeah, there you go. Make sure you join us next time. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you later.
Bye. 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 Bye.